All right. Well, thank you all. We'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us for the City Efficiency Leadership webinar series. Today's topic is plug loads management for commercial buildings. Our speaker is Carlos Gamera with HARC. He's a senior research scientist in clean energy technology at the Houston Advanced Research Center, also known as HARC. A little bit about these webinars. They're a great opportunity to get the ICC CEUs and professional learning development. Our topics range from energy management fundamentals like benchmarking, and as well as emerging topics such as resilience plannings for critical infrastructure with combined heat and power, and energy equity. If you want to see more of our webinar series, we have a YouTube channel that has more than 100 videos. And you're also welcome to peruse our events calendar for upcoming webinars, as well as CLC roundtables. And these events are sponsored through a partnership with State Energy Conservation Office and as well as HARC. A little bit about our organization. I'm Sean Auckland. I'm the local government program manager with SPEER, and that's supporting partnerships and energy efficiency as a resource. Our mission is to accelerate the adoption of energy efficiency products and services in Texas and Oklahoma. And we accomplish this by building and leading diverse partnerships among all stakeholders, providing science-based research resources and trainings for our membership and partners, and promoting policies that advance energy efficiency technology, research, and other innovations. And we're one of 6 regional energy efficiency organizations. We're membership-based, a nonprofit 50c3 organization. We have about 50 plus members, and they range from utilities, other nonprofit organizations, local governments, and other aspects, including EE industries. If you want to learn more, there's our website, as well as we'll be sending out these. Well, I'll go over some housekeeping in a moment. I did want to touch on this program. It's a City Efficiency Leadership Council. It's a part of our local government program that is also supported by the State Energy Conservation Office. It's a collaborative network of Texas cities, school districts, and other public entities engaged in partnership and resource exchange to expand the adoption of energy management best practices in the public sector. So CLC, cities in the name for City Efficiency Leadership Council, but we do cover, again, cities, school districts, universities, and counties. Then also, if you're more interested, just peruse our website, and you can also welcome to reach out to me, and I'll share my email at the end of this webinar. Housekeeping. Questions are always welcome. We highly encourage that. Please use the Q&A here in the bottom aspect of your menu. You'll see that as 2 bubbles, and it'll say Q&A. We also have a chat box. We'll be putting different pieces of information in the chat box, or if you have questions, or if there's any technical aspects of this webinar that you're having issues with, please pop that in the chat as well. Technology, I always give it grace, so sometimes there's issues, so please reach out to us that way. All attendees are muted, but again, you can use the chat box to communicate and the question and answer for questions. And then also, if you want to share information, please use the chat box, because that's what this is all about, is sharing of information that you know as well. And I just want to also talk about one more time as a CLC, we have a couple of coming up events. Please check out our website. Without further ado, I did forget to mention all ICC CEUs will be mailed out within 3 days, so emailed to you. And we also have a survey that we put in the chat, but if you want to receive the CEUs, you do need to respond to the survey, I think. And then as well as the presentations will be posted on our website and our YouTube channel within those 3 days. All right, without further ado, I would like to introduce our speaker today. Again, it's Carlos Gamera. And Carlos, please tell me if I'm not saying your name correctly.
You are saying it perfectly.
Okay, thank you. So, Carlos is the energy manager of the Hark building, featured on multiple occasions by the Department of Energy, and as it's certified as one of the most efficient office buildings in the United States by the EPA. After becoming the first net zero certified office building in Texas, which is fantastic, is one of the first 50 in the US. Hark is working not to offset, but to reduce its operational CO2 emissions to zero. So at this moment, Carlos, I'm going to stop with my screen sharing and you're welcome to share yours. And I'll turn off my video. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the opportunity of presenting here today. Today, we're going to talk about plug load management and what Hark has been doing to control and even decrease our energy consumption in plug loads. We will start discussing what's Hark, talk a little bit about the Hark building and how do we manage energy at Hark. Management, plug load management during pandemic times, but also how after COVID, with the new usage patterns we have in our building, how have we adapt our strategies to control, as I mentioned before, monitor and control the consumption in plug loads, given the type of organization we are. And of course, at the very end, we will be more than happy to answer any questions you have. Sorry. So really quick about Hark. Hark is a non-profit applied sustainability research organization established in 1992. We are an independent organization. We define ourselves as an objective, non-advocacy organization with an approach to provide science-related services to any entity who wants to use data to make decisions, right? We, as you can see in this slide too, we have different research areas like air, energy, water, climate risk. We also have added recently energy justice, climate justice as part of this natural evolution of climate risk. But we like to say also, we like to help people thrive and nature flourish. So we are very focused on sustainability. And as you can see, based on the topics we research on, right? Back in 2015, Hark was established, as I said, 1982. Back in 2015, the organization made a decision of move to a new headquarters that will showcase the mission and vision of the organization. And that's the building we are working from today. I'm presenting from today. So it's a net zero office building. Sorry, it's a 2-story office building, 18,600 square feet, around 35 office spaces, a conference area for 100 people, 2 kitchens, 2 meeting rooms, collaboration areas. So it's a mid-sized office building, which was designed with the goal in mind, right? Was designed as a net zero ready building. So we were one of the first. We were certified as LEED Platinum by design, sorry. And it was in 2018 when we expanded our solar array, the solar plant we have in the roof, when we reached out our milestone of becoming the first office building certified as net zero energy in Texas. The installation of the solar finished in 2018. And by November 2019, we already were annually net zero, which means we are producing more energy than we are consuming. Anyway, even pre-COVID, our Energy Star score was 99, meaning that we are more efficient than 99% of the comparable office buildings in the United States. And just for you to have an idea, in Texas, there are only 20 office buildings with an APA score of over 98 and only 10 office buildings with a 99 score or higher. So we are talking about a very efficient building. We take efficiency very seriously. As you can see in this slide, we started with the Energy Star and LEED certification. We then move into the Net Zero certification. Now we are actively working on reducing our carbon emissions, and for that we have identified that we want to self-consume all the power, excess power we sell back to the grid, meaning that all the excess power produced by our solar plant, we currently sell it to the grid. But if we store that clean energy in a battery and use it at night, we can reduce our carbon emissions by 80%. And that's one of the projects we are working on these days. But we have other goals, as you can see, that making of our building kind of an intelligent building, right? The building able to do real-time monitoring, control, and fault detection. But at the very end, we want to be this building that's zero water, zero energy building. How do we manage energy at HARC? And this is more focused on today's topic, right? We at HARC, we have developed our own dashboards, and that's a capability we have in-house. We can collect energy from our own building and put that information out there. This is the public dashboard we have available for everybody to check. By the way, we are a non-profit organization. We are very open to share our data with any kind of entity interested in doing research with us or knowing more about how this building come to be and how are we even pushing its efficiency and sustainability boundaries even further. And that's kind of what we are doing today, right? So on top of the public dashboard, we have an energy dashboard and an environmental indoor air quality dashboard. Again, we install our own meters and develop these dashboards. And very relevant to today's topic, we also have a plug load management system. So at HARC, we have a system. This is a service provided by a third company by which we monitor every single plug, every single socket in the building. We monitor the consumption of those sockets, so we see where the energy is going, and that gives us the information we need to manage that consumption using different strategies. Which goals have, I think I already spoke about this, so I'm not gonna go through this slide for too long. This is, we have our PV solar plant expansion in December 2018. Our solar plant generates around 105,000 kilowatt hours a year. We managed to reduce our energy consumption by over 20% in 2019, reaching to Energy Star 99 and becoming the first net zero efficiency, net zero 35 building in Texas. I'm sorry, because these slides should probably have been before, not in here. The beauty of all this management we are doing, and this is why are we doing this energy management, right? We are a sustainability company. We want to be recognized for being as sustainable as possible, right? Part of it, one of the drivers for us to do this, of course, is the economic driver. As you can see here, the bills, the electricity bills of our building, when we barely have any solar on the roof, and we were not paying a ton of attention to our energy efficiency because we were kind of commissioning the systems, right? That first year when we occupied the building, we identified some issues after the construction that we had to solve. So for the first year, we didn't really focus on efficiency, but on getting things to work as they were supposed to. So during that first year, our electricity bill was $10,500. The second year, as you can see, we managed to reduce that bill. We started optimizing some things here and there. The electricity bill went down to $9,747. But once we improved our energy efficiency and we expanded our solar plant, our electricity bills started going down, as you can see here, to the point that in the last 12 months, our electricity bill, this information is not fully accurate. In the last 12 months, our electricity bills are minus $930. So we are paid around $1,000 every year from the utility. Where does the energy go in our building? The usage changes every year. So this is a continuous commissioning process we're going through, if you want to call it that way. We care about this and we look into this every month. But our consumption and our efficiency changes with the occupancy or the new equipment installed and other equipment that's retired. So this is a very active process. Personally, I am very engaged with, right? And plug loads play an important role in this consumption. As you can see in this table, back in 2018, 27% of electricity consumption was on plug loads, while 53% was on AC. Well, as we move in, as years go by, we started plugging more things inside the building, this new server, this new computer, this small, and also we started working on efficiency that really helped us reduce our consumption on HVAC, while the consumption on plug loads, as you will see in the next slides, was going slightly up, to the point that plug loads is, for the most part, is the most important energy usage we have at the building, is the highest throughout the year. It goes with AC. During winter months, during summer months, we use more AC than plug loads, but during spring, winter, and autumn, we use more plug loads than AC, more energy on plug loads than AC. So let's talk about plug loads, which is what we are going to, we came to discuss today here. I mentioned this before. There was a time at HARC, this chart shows the energy consumption in the prior 12 months, right? That means that from February 2018 to February 2019, our building used 105,000 kilowatt hours. Well, after we commissioned our solar plant in 2018, we started working really hard on energy efficiency. And you can see this, how our energy consumption was going down and down and down. And most of this energy consumption, most of this reduction came from, as you can see here, from HVAC. This green line is the total for the building, and these lines down here represent plug loads, lighting, and HVAC. So as you can see, there was a time at HARC where we, through energy efficiency, reduced our energy consumption quite a bit, especially on the HVAC side. Then March 2020, it was a time where our energy consumption kind of became stable. So we had improved all we could improve with HVAC. And our annual energy consumption was stable around 82,000 kilowatt hours a year. But when COVID hit, we took advantage of that to really decrease the energy consumption of the building even further. Just a few people were coming to the building every day to do regular, things that they couldn't do from home. So we really optimized even more the consumption on HVAC and lighting. But as you can see, our plug load consumption is very, very hard to reduce, very hard, because especially during COVID, more computers had to stay on 24/7 so people could remote, because people didn't have the ability to come to the office turning on and off, right? Okay, as you can see here, what happened once the company decided to go back, is that our energy consumption, annual energy consumption went up again, mostly driven by HVAC again. And we have reached a new normal where our energy consumption is around 76,000 kilowatt hours a year. But the most relevant thing for our presentation today is plug loads. And as you can see, plug loads, even during COVID, plug loads are very hard to manage, because if you think about it, everything you plug into the building is for a reason, and it usually stays, and you can manage it. There are many discussions that need to happen on, do we need to buy new equipment, like new monitors, as I will discuss later. The conversation revolves around, do we need to buy new equipment? Is the equipment we have properly used? Is the equipment in a standby mode for most of the time? So are we keeping it on for forever? Can the equipment be turned off without costing the company money or extra time? So there are different discussions that keep this profile, as you can see, quite stable around 30,000 kilowatt hours a year. Plus, we have another thing here at HARC. We have a server room which works 24/7, where our scientists develop their own calculations and their own work. So it's not only about regular workstations. We have servers. We keep on working 24/7. And that consumption represents probably 15% of the total energy consumption. That's something we cannot optimize because it's part of our production process, right? It's directly related with our production as scientists. Anyway, let's go back to 2018, because in the second half of 2018, we developed an energy audit, right? We tried to identify where the energy was going, as I mentioned before, and this is one of the charts that came out of this energy audit. I don't know if you can see it here because it's quite small, but you will be able when we share the presentation. The server room at that time represented 17% of the energy consumption in plug loads. And that's something we couldn't touch. But we identify other things like some offices with a higher consumption than others, coffee makers that remain on, no matter what, 24/7. People leaving their computer on at night with no clear purpose, even during the weekends. So we, at this point, have different conversation, especially during the first months and during the first month of 2019, right? We had this conversation with our team. Do we really need 2 coffee makers that use, because these are industrial, I mean, I will call them commercial coffee makers, not industrial coffee makers, but they can brew like 8 cups of coffee or 10 cups of coffee every 2 minutes. So, and they have a standby power of 150 watts, which is like 3-4 computers. So we identified that as an inefficiency. And after meeting with our people, we agreed on retiring one of the coffee makers. We also encourage our team to think about turning off their computers during the weekend or at night if they were not going to be accessing them. Some people agreed. Some people still continues keeping the computers on at night. Also, the IT department was not aligned with these strategies because they said that they were pushing up the updates on the computers at night. And sometimes people will have to turn on the computer and wait for the updates to happen before they get to work. So they will lose like a few minutes on that. So this strategy is kind of involved a small cultural change, right? Asking people to think about the energy we use at night, which is kind of a waste because it's not very productive for us, and try to cut that waste, optimize it as much as we can. And some people was not very receptive at the beginning, but they were at the end when they understood why are we doing this and what was our goal with this, right? One thing that you can also identify is that many plug loads many new equipment was coming to the building without us knowing. So we were trying to optimize the plug load consumption, and it was going up without us knowing why is this going up, right? Well, there were new plug loads being added, new equipment being added to the building that we were not monitoring, and there was not this communication with the IT department. When you install something, tell me so I can monitor its consumption, right? We got that aligned back in 2019, but I think that's another important point. The team, the whole organization needs to be aligned, especially the IT team needs to be aligned with the energy manager, so both departments work together to achieve a higher efficiency. So some of the challenges we identify and some of your companies might be facing too is that the resources you can spend on periodic energy audits versus the cost of energy. So if you are not paying much for your electricity, or you can afford your electricity, you are not very encouraged to look at your energy efficiency, right? Because like that's the mindset we had when we moved to a new building. Well, it's a new efficient building, right? Let's operate as a regular building. Well, it didn't work very well for us. So we were not, the company could afford $10,000 a year in electricity bills, but that didn't mean we were doing our best or as well as we could. So, but there is always this trade-off on how much time do I spend optimizing the building versus what's the savings I get, right? We had this lack of visibility of what's plugged into the building. We had limited visibility on the energy consumption at the socket level. So we knew that these three offices were using this much energy, but unless you go to the office and see what's plugged and start collecting the data, you didn't know. where the energy consumption was happening. Again, you had to spend time on that. We didn't have any automation capabilities, so we were not able to manage plug loads at all, other than unplugging things, which is time consuming again. And we realized we had a lot of redundant equipment. Like some researchers had even 3 monitors, 1 laptop, 1 workstation, and they were using the server too. Coffee makers, 2 coffee makers we were not using. So I think that's another point we identified. Equipment that is underused, that the question was, do we really need this equipment? Some things that we identify but we cannot deal with is server operation, a server operating 24/7 that was consuming around 20% of the total energy of the whole building. Devices that cannot be turned off, like for example, the audio system in the conference area. Apparently, when you turn that system off, it gets desynchronized. And if you want to synchronize the wireless microphones and everything again, the company that manages the system has to come and charge us something like $200. So obviously there is no way to recover that money. So they advise us to keep it on 24/7. And also the purchase of additional equipment, like for example, small batteries for each individual desktop computer, without really considering if the value of the information that could be lost in an outage would justify that, right? It's kind of, again, there was not a strong alignment with IT at the beginning of this process, but we work on that and we are doing very well right now. So in this chart, we can see, and sorry, because I think the colors are mixed. That's why I was confused when I look at it. We can see the evolution of the consumption in plug loads, which we managed to make an impact on it. 24/7% in 2018, 20%, sorry. No, this is totally the opposite story. How we could not control plug load management just looking at the information, right? So, sorry, how we could not reduce the plug load consumption just looking at the information. So 27% of the annual consumption was based on plug loads, 35% in 2019 was plug loads, and the 12 months prior to COVID, we reached at 39% of the energy of the total energy consumption was on plug loads. So the consumption was going up, and we didn't have even sometimes even an explanation. We were trying to optimize it to reduce it, but it was not working for us, right? As we have discussed, we have these meetings with our staff to present and discuss the goals of the building, basically to get this alignment from every department and everyone on trying to understand. It's not that I want to turn off your computer, it's that if HARC wants to be this very efficient building, we need some things to happen, and we would like, if you don't mind, to turn off your computer. If that's not efficient for you, just let us know, right? It's not the energy manager enforcing anything, it's the company asking their employees to be more efficient. As I've been highlighting in the 2 previous slides, just collecting data and looking at the data, sometimes we couldn't even explain why our plug load consumption was going higher. So in June 2019, we identify a plug load management system actually that we purchased from a company called Sapient. There are other companies doing this out there. We just started working with this company, and to this day we continue working with them. This company, this system was self-deployed at the time. So basically, all we had to do is to connect all these power strips or individual socket devices in every socket. And what this system does is to monitor the energy consumption and send the data to Sapient server so we can analyze where the energy is coming from, right? But also the system has the ability to schedule different sockets. So like, for example, one of the strategies we use here is that at 6:30 p.m., we turn off all the monitors in the building, because that's typically the hour where nobody's here. I mean, not most of our researchers have left for the day. They have the ability to offset and to turn the monitor again, but that's how we automatize at the beginning. This is an example of what these systems allow you to do. So in September 2019, we developed a follow-up plug load audit, and we identified that 35% of the consumption was in plug loads at that time. 19% was in the server room, which we really could not optimize at that time. 6% was going in laptops, desktops, and other office equipment, and 10% was going in kitchen appliances, audio and video equipment. When I say kitchen appliances, we have, for the most part, an ice machine and two fridges, 2 refrigerators. Then in December 2019, we did a partial reconfiguration of the plug load management platform, trying to identify which loads were quite stable, so we probably don't need to keep on measuring them. They don't need some intensive monitoring, and reallocating those power strips to cover 100% of the most variable loads. So we didn't, at the beginning, monitor the entire building, just some parts of it, and move that equipment, trying to identify, okay, this is where the energy consumption is happening, and the most variable consumptions, let's monitor those, because the rest, like a copy machine that's turned on 24/7, or a fridge, that energy consumption is not going to change a lot. So we try to optimize the number of devices we use, trying to reduce the cost of deploying this system. During pandemic times, we face different challenges, right? The challenges, so as you can see here, before COVID, our building used 77 kilowatts a day on plug loads, during weekend day, I think this legend is not right. So our building used 91.9 kilowatt hours a day during weekdays on plug loads, and 77 during weekend days. During COVID, the consumption during weekdays went down to 83, but the consumption during weekend days went up because more people was leaving their computers on, because obviously they couldn't come to the office to turn it on and off. They had to remote to the computer from home. So this was one of the challenges we faced. We managed, though, to turn off plug loads on empty offices. Like, for example, monitors never went on, not even the standbys. We've turned off one fridge, one hot water dispenser, and left the other one on. So basically, we turned off the upstairs kitchen and left the downstairs kitchen fully operative. Most of the staff members were working remotely, so that also came with this weekday savings. Our servers UPS was upgraded after Winter Storm Uri, which with a more efficient one. So we also start using less power on a regular basis for our servers. And I think one of the issues we face, as I mentioned here, and I think I already mentioned them, more computers had to remain on, and also services like the audio system in the conference area was not used at all during the pandemic. But of course, if you have to pay $200-300 to reconfigure it, you don't want to turn it off, because you will never recover that money. So again, I think this is a story we already share, and how, although we managed to reduce the plug load, the demand in plug loads to some extent, it quickly came back to the same state as before COVID. So let's talk about present now. We've been talking about past a lot, right? What are we doing right now? That probably will also provide you with some valid information. So the Heart Building reopened around after Memorial Day 2021. Our goal starting June 2021 was to look and see how the new demand would look like, right? We had new usage patterns in the entire building. Less people coming to the building, computers that will stay on and off. I mean, different types of plugs. Let's set the new baseline, if that makes sense. And also we wanted to define realistic goals based that fit into our new strategic plan, right? And what do we want to achieve with the building? And of course, the main goal for us is to control the plug load consumption without disrupting the operations and growth of the company at all. Meaning that if the servers need to be used 24/7 and we need to bring in a new server, and we need to do that, that's something we cannot touch. But at the same time, we want to get rid of waste. And I will probably advance this later. What's a good way of make sure you are not wasting energy? Look at your consumption at night and making sure that you keep it as low as possible, and that every night, all the devices that need to be turned off are turned off. And anyway, let me continue with the presentation. At that time, so the new challenges and opportunities related with plug load management were like new staff members joining the team. So we hire more people. We had more plug loads because we have more computers coming into the building, right? All the kitchen equipment was turned back on with a moderate to low usage ratio. So if I remember correctly, before the pandemic, like 25 people come to the building on a regular basis. After the pandemic, these months especially was like 12, 15. So we kept the same equipment working for half the people at the beginning. We had more staff members alternating remote and on-site work, so the computers still need to be on 24/7. But at the same time, some others were turning off their computers when they left for the day, and the savings were still there. I mean, there were some remote workers that barely came to the office after COVID, so they were not using any plug loads, any consumption. They were not consuming any energy on plug loads. Sorry. And I think this is one of the last slides we have today. So some conclusions after all these dynamics I've been discussing. I probably went a bit fast, but I will be happy to revisit any of the slides. But when it comes to conclusions, small plug loads up really fast during the lifespan of the building. So it's really easy to add new things, to bring more things into your office, to have to install more servers. But when it comes to taking things out, tidying up, and reassessing what we need, that's a very slow process, right? Because we tend to keep things just in case we're going to use it. And at Hard it happened, for example, with the monitors. Instead of retiring all monitors, some people decided to have a third monitor, which to some extent, okay, how many monitors does a person need to work? Some people might need 3. Some people is okay with 1 or 2. So is it better to retire these old monitors or to offer them to our staff to reuse them if they really are? I don't know. That was the conversation we had at the time. So one of the tips we can provide after all this process is to check the plug load base load when the building is occupied every X months, 6 months, 3 months. Monitor it monthly, weekly. But look at, I would say, not only here at Hard, we look more than the load when we pay more attention to the load when the building is unoccupied than when it's occupied. Because when it's occupied, people is working and we have to provide that room for our people, right? But what we are requesting is for them to turn off things properly at night. So we are as efficient as we can. Some of the challenges we face, and the main challenge for us was the lack of visibility. I mean, usually, sometimes if you only have the utility meter, you only have 1 meter. And it's very hard to, even with an energy audit, to be accurate on how much energy is being used in plug loads. So installing a platform or installing additional meters or sensors will help you identify opportunities for you to improve, right? Without, you cannot improve, you cannot optimize what you don't see. So I guess getting that visibility is key. Communications, when it comes to plug loads, especially alignment, you need, I mean, the company needs to align, needs some alignment with the management, the executive management, IT, and users. So, okay, we are going to do this. There is always going to be some resistance, but in general terms, people want to embrace that we are going to be saving energy, we are going to be saving environmental emissions, which these days are as important as energy and costs and dollars, I mean, for companies. And we're going to be doing the right thing either, because why waste energy, right? It doesn't make any sense. But other things that we had to discuss was the purchase of efficient equipment. Set some standards for the equipment you buy, right? We are only going to buy monitors that are efficient, that are Energy Star certified. For example, should we offer 3 monitors to everybody when for most people 2 monitors are perfectly fine? Should we recycle the old monitor? I mean, should we reuse the old monitors and just if we bring in new people, should we buy new monitors or ask someone, okay, are you using your 3 monitors? Is it okay if we? So that's what I mean with reuse. Optimize the usage of the equipment, which so we've been talking about energy all the time, but when you monitor plug load systems, anything connected to the building, you can also figure out how much time the equipment is being used. So questions like, do we need a second copy machine? Can be answered monitoring the system. You probably don't need a second copy machine if you are barely using your first one. Yeah, it's nice to have one in the first floor and one in the second floor, but I mean, it's about efficiency, all these conversations. And some people we are humans, we all get used to, we want what we want and we don't want to go grab coffee downstairs sometimes. But, if it's the right thing to do, we need to educate ourselves to do that, because you might come across someone and have a good conversation about the project. There are other things that are good for you in these changing patterns. An important aspect to pay attention to is to limit the installation of devices not designed to be turned off. So, for example, these audio systems we install in conference rooms are an example for us, a clear example of a system that since the moment you buy it and install it, for the next 10 years, that system is going to be working and consuming energy. So it's much better if you can buy a piece of equipment that you can turn on and off without any disruption, if that makes sense, or that you have the control on how to configure it. Limit the number of users that feel uncomfortable with any level of automation. Yeah, some users don't like you to turn off their monitors at 6, but reality is, if we are reading data and you are never here at 6, what's the big deal, right? Don't overspend time on conversations about which equipment is important, essential, or critical. Just work with the data, right? And this is an open conversation. Every company is going to be different, but avoiding having redundant devices is going to help also too. As we mentioned before, plug load management, this is my last slide. Plug load management platforms are great tools to improve energy efficiency in the long and in the short term. They will help you grab the information you want, make the decisions, and for how long do you keep the platform is a long-term decision, because the moment you install the platform, you decrease your energy consumption. When these platforms usually go, depends on the company, they have different business models. Some of them ask you for a monthly fee, others ask you for an annual payment. So you can keep the platform as long as you want, but how useful is the platform? When you achieve that first tier of savings, do you want to keep the platform or not? We kept it because, first of all, we are scientists. And second, the moment you stop, the moment you remove the platform, you lost visibility on the system. And again, the system most likely will come back to its original inefficient state. But for the most part, yeah, these platforms are very, very useful for reducing carbon emissions, reducing costs, and very flexible. I mean, every user can, when the system turns off something automatically, the user can override that just pushing a button. And I think this is a strategy I haven't discussed before that happened post-COVID. After COVID, with some people working remotely for a few days, I mean, probably some people won't stop by your office or by your building in days. We changed the way we configure our platform. So initially, all the plug loads, so computers stayed on 24/7 and other loads. And we were starting most of the plug loads at 6 a.m. and stopping and cutting them off turning them off at 6:30 or 6, right? After COVID, what we did is to get rid of the rule of starting them at 6. We gave the system the order to stop everything at 6:30, meaning that if you come to the office that day, you turn everything on and you leave, the plug load management platform will turn off your monitors, your lights, your motorized desktop, whatever, your printer at 6:30, and it won't be on until you come back to the office the next day or in 2 weeks, and you push those buttons again. So meaning that it doesn't matter if you don't come to the office in 2 weeks, because your energy usage will be as efficient as it can be. So these platforms are very flexible. They provide you with, they monitor for you energy cost, carbon emissions associated with these devices. And so this is a product I would highly recommend to many people, many companies. And sorry, because I took these last slides. I took a couple more minutes than I should for these last slides. So thank you very much.
That was great, Carlos. Thank you so much. We do have a few questions. Most of them are for me. This would be a great time for the people who are here attending the webinar. If they have any questions, to go and put them in the chat. I don't see any currently in the question and answer. So I'm going to start. So does HARC have a policy on plug loads and purchasing only Energy Star equipment?
We do. We buy Energy Star certified monitors, computers. Yes, so that's part of the process, I guess. It's like making sure that you purchase equipment that's as efficient as it can be. Or at least you consider efficiency in the purchase of new equipment, right? Because that's part one of the optimization process. Don't overload.
And so I'm curious, when you started having these engagement conversations, did you bring that policy with you and say, okay, this is HARC's overall policy on plug load management? So, you know, that fan that you have plugged in your office space, can you please unplug that? Or you smell
no, this was not just one conversation. We actually was probably 3 of them, and one-on-one conversations, asking people. So at some point we got a comment from one of our managers saying, if we cannot be comfortable, why are we in a good, I mean, why can't we be comfortable in our own new building, right? Well, it's not about just being comfortable. It's about being efficient. And, we try to prevent people having fans unless they are very uncomfortable. The point, for example, what we do, we try to allocate people based on if they are a cold nature, warm nature, right? So we allocate people in different places, in different offices, based on different criteria, trying to mitigate these concerns, complaints when people is not comfortable. We really have this ongoing conversation on AC, on plug loads, on different things. Like for example, some people still prefer to have their computers coming on at 6 and off at 6, rather than just coming off at 6. And so we have we are flexible with our people too. It's not that I came in the room with a policy and said, this is what we are doing right now. No, that's not a good recipe for success, I guess.
That's true. That's very true. So I'm curious with that. You had 3 different conversations on moving this forward. So, and there's some people that choose to have their computer on from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. What's the number of employees at HARC when we're thinking about this?
We have 35 employees.
35 employees.
Probably 5 of them are mostly remote, but the rest come to the office at least 2-3 times a week. So it's not a big company, and that's the beauty also that, I mean, that makes it easier for us. But these plug load management systems are you can see them in every company of every size. And they really provide you the visibility you need. And of course, in a company with 1,000 people, you cannot go desk by desk talking to everyone. But you can see, you still have the ability to optimize because you see the patterns. And especially with purchases, cleaning, that data can be used to define which offices have been occupied, and even the cleaning schedule could be optimized, right? So if, and you can reallocate people based on that information. There are different aspects of your company you can identify using that data. So it's very useful data for the company, but also give you the visibility to save energy and costs and emissions.
And I posted in the chat for everyone, there was a case study I came across from Sapient, and by no means am I recommending this company, but I did think it was interesting and never heard of them before. I am curious though, for plug load management, do you have to have a smart plug for each item?
You don't, I mean, we expanded the system little by little. We started, first of all, these smart plugs. I'm gonna disappear from the
Okay. Yeah, let's see.
They look like regular power strips.
Okay.
So it's not like anything you won't have at your office, and they can cover up to six plugs. You have individual ones, and the only difference is that they have this Wi-Fi. They send data through Wi-Fi to a server where they collect the data. What we did at HARC at the beginning, we just got, I kind of remember 20 of those, and we're rotating them, identifying where the consumption was higher or more variable. So we could actually have reduced the number of devices we had to purchase or to install, if that makes sense. But you should do that at the beginning, and then, yeah, you can stay with, I mean, if this is a copy machine that uses 15 watts all the time, and it spends on a standby 5,000 hours a year, should I monitor it? Is worth the money monitoring that copy machine? You know, right. That's the kind of conversation we had.
So with that, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, this would be great for a larger organization to kind of pilot something like the platform to kind of explore and get more buy-in.
I would recommend that for sure. They will give them a lot of visibility on their consumption, on their usage patterns. And I think that information has a lot of value for them. So sometimes only the information is worth to make the decision of keeping the system or not. It's like, yeah.
And then, I just wanted to capture again. So what you all found, what was the total overall cost savings that you found through plug load management?
That's tricky at HARC. So we save, I think was right off the bat when we installed the system, 15% of our annual energy consumption. The tricky part at HARC is that we have this solar plant. So our bills are negative $1,000. I cannot quantify right now how much that meant, but if you look, for example, if you look at the original HARC, or the initial bill we had was $10,500. So we technically were saving that 15% of that right away, which adds up to 1,600 a year. 1,600 a year by deploying the platform. But that was the initial savings right off the bat. We went farther when we started optimizing things, when we had the visibility and we could optimize more and more. But the tricky part again is that with plug loads, more devices come into the building, and with more staff members, more computers. So it's really hard to quantify. It's okay you can control the consumption in plug loads, but you cannot reduce it dramatically like we did with HVAC or with lighting. It's very hard. It's always there, right? Especially for office buildings like ours. We work with electricity, with computers, so it's hard. But you can control it, and of course have some savings. In our case, around 1,600 a year.
I just think about what that would look like for a larger agency. And then also, personally right now, we're in Texas, we're experiencing a heat wave. And I think about how personally at home I can change and examine my plug load, especially with energy costs this summer.
Look, well,
Mhm.
it's important to, I mean, honestly, what we do really good at HARC, we pay a lot of attention is on optimizing the energy consumption during the night. So we make sure when you have to use energy, use it. But when you are not using it, please turn things off, be as efficient as you can. And then, as you mentioned, try to buy efficient equipment and make a good use of it, right? Is the advice I think we can give to anyone. And if anyone in the audience wants to know more, we will be happy to reach out. We are happy to share our data also. We are a nonprofit organization promoting energy efficiency, so happy to help.
And you had posted your email address, and are you okay if we include that in our follow-up email?
Please, we would love to. We
Fantastic.
would love to help anyone who wants to follow a similar path.
And I also have my email. I'm posting that right now. Can you see that okay, Carlos?
Yes.
Okay, so you're welcome to reach out to me, but I'll follow up with an email to everyone with the presentation and then the link to our YouTube page, as well as some of the resources I put into the chat. And also, before everyone hops off, I know we only have 1 or 2 minutes, I did want to promote this program that I'm working in partnership with HARC, and it's a statewide survey. And it's to really kind of understand what local governments' needs are and what their focus are right now in the state of Texas. And with this survey will help us kind of have and identify what, how we can better serve, but as well as the State Energy Conservation Office. So we'll put together the survey findings, and we'll have a presentation in August, as well in September at our industry and policy workshop. And then the findings will be put into a final report to the State Energy Conservation Office for them to take that forward in their programming. So again, you can use this QR code to take the survey. The survey is about 10 minutes, and we would love for any local government to participate. So that's cities, counties, higher education, ISDs, and Council of Governments, and also community-based nonprofits, so nonprofits who work with local governments and implementing programs. Again, here's our contact information. We have a YouTube channel. And I want to say thank you again, Carlos, for taking your time and sharing your knowledge and sharing your experience in implementing a plug load management program at HARC.
And we are happy to share this information again. Anyone who is interested. Thank you very much for this opportunity to present. Thank you.
Well, thanks again, and I look forward to seeing the participants in our next webinar that we'll be having. Well, they're on our website, but our next one will be occurring in August on how to present your benchmark findings to your city, your officials. So presenting that to them so you can make some decisions and your next steps, or even energy plans or policies such as plug load management. All right. Thanks again.
Thank you very much.